Have you ever spoken a second language and suddenly you felt like your personality completely disappeared? Like normally you're very articulate, clear, and thoughtful, but then the moment you switch languages, you sound really basic and flat, almost too overly simple. Maybe someone asks you a question and you know you have complex thoughts behind it, but what ends up coming out is, yeah, that's good, or I agree, or I don't know how to explain it, but sure. Very simple thoughts than you would normally react in your native language. And the strange part is that you're not less intelligent, but it can absolutely feel like you are. As someone who helps international students improve their English skills, but is also learning French here in Paris, this is something I experience constantly. And honestly, I feel like this affects a lot of language learners deeply than we realize. So in this video, I want to talk about why this happens psychologically and why it can damage your confidence so quickly, and how to start sounding more like yourself in English. Because we know that fluency is not just about vocabulary, sometimes it's about reconnecting to your actual identity. Let's dive deep into it. One of the hardest parts about speaking another language is realizing there's a gap between who you are and who you can currently express. In your native language, you have so many layers. You have humor, you have sarcasm, you have so much nuance and so many good timings. You know how to tell stories really well, and you know how to comfort people. You know how to sound intelligent, warm, charismatic, funny. But in another language, that all disappears and you somehow still focus on the functionality of it. Like you just start speaking in survival mode. Shorter sentences, safer vocabulary, and just more predictable responses because you know that's what you can rely on. And because of that, maybe you feel like people see a reduced version of who you are. I remember a lot of moments in French when I wanted to contribute a meaningful thought in a conversation, but by the time I mentally organized a sentence, the moment had already passed. So instead, I just smiled politely and stayed quiet. And that silence can really create this painful internal narrative. You may have these thoughts like, maybe I'm just not good socially, maybe I'm awkward, or maybe I'm just boring. Trust me, I have all these internal thoughts going in my head in French. But you know what? That's usually not the reality. You're just temporarily trapped between intelligence and expression. I think a lot of people really underestimate how emotional and vulnerable language learning can really be, because language is so deeply connected to our identity. The way you speak really affects how competent people think you really are, how funny you seem, how confident you appear, and even how attractive or socially capable you might feel. So whenever you suddenly lose access to your full expressive range, it can genuinely feel destabilizing. And what makes it harder is that a lot of adult English learners, they are highly capable people in real life. They hold a lot of really great titles in their careers, or they're just really reliable people in general. They're lawyers, they're managers, they're doctors. Basically, they're people who are speaking on a regular basis and are respected in their jobs. And suddenly they struggle to express something so simple at a pharmacy or a bank or a post office. And that contrast, it can honestly feel so brutal. And especially because I feel like adults can attach language mistakes to identity instead of skill development, which is what it really is. Children might understand a little bit differently and just think, well, I'm learning. But sometimes I think adults may think something like, well, this is who I am. This mistake says a lot about me. And those are two very different emotional experiences to have. When people freeze in conversations, they often have this type of thought. My English is not good enough. But many times that's not the real issue. What's actually happening is a cognitive overload. Your brain is just trying to do multiple things simultaneously. It's trying to translate ideas, remember grammar, search for vocabulary, pronounce correctly, monitor the other person's reaction, and just overall avoid embarrassment. This is an enormous amount of mental activity going on. So then your brain just prioritizes survival instead of sophistication or expression. And this is why a lot of advanced language learners suddenly sound basic under extreme pressure. Honestly, I've experienced this a lot myself in French. There are a lot of moments where I know a word perfectly when I'm by myself, but then I completely lose access to it the moment someone speaks to me waiting for an answer. And that's not due to a lack of intelligence, that's just stress interrupting retrieval. And understanding this will change everything. So what genuinely helps this problem? The first thing is to stop measuring your intelligence by your current expressive ability in English. Those are not the same things at all. Your language level is temporarily, and your intelligence is not. And the second thing is to build bridge phrases. These are phrases that buy you a lot of time more naturally. Saying things like, oh, that's a really good question, or let me think about that for a second, or I know what I mean or what I want to say, just give me a second to think about it. Native speakers honestly do this a lot, because sometimes fluency is not just about speaking or reacting instantly. We're not robots. It's really about managing your conversation smoothly. And the third thing is to focus less on perfection and more on emotional connection. Because ironically, people really rarely remember your grammatical mistakes. But they remember things like, did you sound warm, engaging, nice? Did you sound interesting or really pleasant to speak with? Those are the things that really matter in a conversation. Some of the most charismatic and multilingual people I know still make a lot of language mistakes, but they know how to communicate energy so confidently that it becomes almost irrelevant. And finally, there's one thing that definitely does not help. And that's waiting until you feel ready to actually speak. Because confidence in language learning actually happens after you do the practice. After you do the practice and after you do all the repeated discomfort conversations. And unfortunately, not before it. I really wanted to make this video because I feel like a lot of language learners experience this silently, but we just don't talk about it enough. Honestly, learning French in Paris has made me feel really empathetic towards my own English students because I can definitely understand what it feels like firsthand to have my personality feel trapped under limited expression. So if you have ever felt quiet, awkward, frustrated, or less capable in English, I hope this video reminds you of something extremely important, and that is you are still yourself, even when your vocabulary cannot fully carry you yet. And over time, little by little, your personality will eventually shine and come through. If this really resonated with you, please let me know in the comments section what part of your personality do you feel is really hard to express yourself in English. And if you want more videos about the psychology of language learning, confidence, and natural fluency, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video.